Hey guys, today I want to talk about Rachel's leaked voice messages. I'll share my thoughts on the contents shortly, but first, let's take a step back and ask the real question. Who leaked them? We know Rachel sent these voice notes. We know Sharon was the recipient. So how did these private messages end up online? Let's talk about leaked voice notes. You know how these stories go. A private voice note gets out, the internet explodes, and suddenly everyone's talking about mysterious hackers breaking into encrypted apps like something out of a spy thriller. Sounds dramatic, right? Almost too dramatic. But let's hit pause. Because the reality, hacking a modern encrypted messaging app to extract a single voice note is next to impossible. The walls of digital security, most messaging apps, WhatsApp, Signal, iMessage, use end-to-end encryption. That means messages, including voice notes, are only readable by the sender and the intended recipient. Even the app's own servers can't access them. Once a voice note is sent, it's encrypted on Rachel's device, transmitted securely, and only decrypted on Sharon's device. If someone wanted to intercept that message in transit, they'd need to break 256-bit encryption. Mathematically impossible. So let's rule that out. No hacker intercepted Rachel's messages mid-flight, getting into Rachel's or Sharon's messaging app. If hacking the transmission is out, what about logging into Rachel's or Sharon's messaging app using their password? Most modern apps don't just require a password, they also use two-factor authentication as an extra security layer. Even if someone got Rachel's or Sharon's login details, they'd still need a one-time security code, sent via email, SMS, or an authentication app. Without that unique, time-sensitive code, they're locked out. So unless two-factor authentication was disabled or the hacker also had access to their email or phone, they weren't getting in. Highly unlikely. Getting into Rachel's or Sharon's phone. Let's say someone skipped the app and went straight for Rachel's or Sharon's phone. Even then, they'd have to get past passcodes, fingerprint scans, or Face ID. But what if the phone was unlocked and left unattended? Just for a moment. Someone could open the messages, play the voice note, and screen record it, or maybe they had the passcode, because let's be real, a lot of people share it with close friends, partners, or family members. Even in the case of an unlocked phone, it's unlikely that someone would have had access long enough to locate, play, and record the voice notes without being noticed. Another possibility? Cloud backups. If someone accessed Rachel's or Sharon's iCloud or Google Drive, they could retrieve old conversations. But again, that requires login details, two-factor authentication, and cloud access. So how did Rachel's voice notes leak? If hacking is this difficult, then how did Rachel's private voice notes end up online? Simple. It wasn't a hacker. It was someone in the conversation. Let's be clear. Only two people had access to those messages. Rachel, the sender, Sharon, the recipient. That's it, no one else. So if Rachel didn't leak it herself, then the leak came from Sharon's side. Maybe Sharon shared it on purpose, maybe she forwarded it to someone who then leaked it. Maybe she saved it on her phone, and someone else got their hands on it. From what I can see, it was either Sharon or Rachel herself who leaked the voice notes. Let's talk about the motivations for leaking them. All right, so we've established how Rachel's voice notes got out. Not through hacking, but through someone in the conversation. And unless Rachel leaked them herself, that means Sharon, or someone Sharon gave them to, made them public. So now, let's get to the next big question. Why? Why would someone take a private voice message and leak it for the world to hear? What motivation could there be behind making it public? Why would someone leak a private voice note? There are a few key reasons why people leak private messages, and one of them is almost certainly in play here. One reason is to damage someone's reputation. When private conversations suddenly go public, it's rarely for an innocent reason. If a message is leaked, it's usually because someone wants to make the sender look bad. Maybe the voice note contains something embarrassing. Maybe it exposes a private opinion that wasn't meant for public ears. Maybe it's taken out of context to create drama and controversy. The goal is to embarrass, discredit, or ruin someone's reputation. And let's not pretend we don't see this all the time. Celebrity scandals, political leaks, viral drama. It's always about exposure and control. So in Rachel's case, whoever leaked it wanted people to hear it, and not in a good way. Another reason is revenge or payback. Leaking private messages is a classic betrayal move. It's the digital version of, well, if you're going to do that to me, then I'll do this to you. Maybe Sharon was upset with Rachel. Maybe they had a falling out. Maybe something happened behind the scenes that made Sharon, or someone she trusted, decide to throw Rachel under the bus. If this was personal, then the leak wasn't random, it was deliberate. There's also the possibility of clout, influence, or leverage. In today's world, leaks mean views. Views mean shares. Shares mean influence. Maybe the person who leaked it wanted social media traction. Maybe they wanted to insert themselves into a bigger conversation. Maybe they saw an opportunity to be relevant. Because private messages don't leak themselves. Someone made a choice. And people don't make that choice for no reason. But let's flip the script for a second. What if the leak wasn't just an attack on Rachel? What if Rachel wanted the information out there, but in a way that kept her hands clean? Maybe she had something to say but couldn't say it publicly without backlash. Maybe she wanted people to hear it, but needed plausible deniability. So it looks like an accidental leak. Maybe she trusted Sharon to pass it on just enough to stir the pot, but not enough to link it back to her. And here's something that makes this even more interesting. The voice notes didn't just get leaked once. We know this because in a later leaked voice note, an earlier one is referenced. That means whoever is leaking them isn't just dropping everything all at once. They're doing it in stages, choosing when and how to reveal more. That's not an accident. That's a pattern. Someone is controlling the leaks. Someone is deciding the timing. And that means this isn't just a single mistake. It's a deliberate rollout. If Rachel had a reason to want this message public, then maybe this wasn't just a betrayal. Maybe it was a play. The only question is, who is the real target? So what's the real story here? Now that we've covered the how and the why, let's piece it together. Rachel didn't hack herself. Sharon was the only recipient. The leak was intentional. The motivation was either revenge, reputation damage, clout, or Rachel herself wanted it public. That means someone, most likely on Sharon's end, wanted this voice note out there. But if we can't rule out the idea that Rachel also had something to gain from this getting out, then this leak isn't as simple as it seems. So the question isn't just who leaked it, it's also why now? What do they gain from this? Because leaks aren't just accidents. They're moves in a bigger game, and whoever leaked Rachel's messages, they're playing for something. So before anyone gets caught up in the drama, the headlines, the hype, ask the real question. Who leaked it, and what did they want? Because in cases like this, the leak itself tells you more than the message ever could. Finally, I want to address the content of the voice notes themselves. I assume everyone's heard them, so I won't replay them here. Broadly speaking, they seem to center around Rachel's frustration with Warren's actions on social media, specifically his posts and videos. Many people interpreted Warren's online activity as an attempt to seek answers and understand what happened to Jay while he was in Tenerife. Everyone empathizes with Warren. Even Rachel acknowledges that he's lost his son. But how many of us can truly comprehend that kind of grief without having experienced it ourselves? Yes, many of us have lost parents or grandparents, and while that loss is painful, it follows the natural order of life. Losing a child, however, is an unimaginable tragedy, one that few will ever endure. The suffering and torment that must bring upon a parent is beyond words. It's also important to remember that Warren and Debbie didn't just lose their son, they lost him under circumstances that left many unanswered questions. Even if the Spanish authorities concluded it was an accident, there's still no definitive explanation for why Jay, and potentially others, made the choices they did. No one can provide a full, indisputable account of what led to his tragic death. For that reason, I believe Warren has every right to search for answers and express his grief, within reason. Criticizing him over minor social media posts, such as whether he acknowledged someone he didn't know, hardly seems like grounds to demand a public apology from a grieving father. Myself and others, judging by online comments, noticed a distinct lack of empathy from both Rachel and Sharon in the voice notes. Their tones seemed more concerned with appearances and how Warren's actions might reflect on them, rather than acknowledging his pain. Of course, I'm only speculating, but as I mentioned earlier, the motivation for leaking these voice notes could have been to send Warren a message, to get him to stop posting, without openly stating it and risking public backlash. We may never know for sure, but based on everything discussed, that seems a distinct possibility. Thanks for watching, and as always, feel free to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below.